experiences and share their impressions and reflections. We're going to begin by having them introduce themselves, tell us your institution, and after everyone says their name and institution, circle back and tell us why you joined the community or how it was that you were recruited into a learning community.
I'm Mark from Kingsborough. My name is Marvin Kintig. I attend Bunker Hill Community College.
I'm Crystal Martinez. I attend Bunker Hill Community College.
Angela Morrison, and I attend Kingsborough Community College.
I'm Kimar Bennett, and I'm from Bunker Hill Community College.
I'm Adeline Sheehan, and I attend Bunker Hill Community College.
I'm Ms. Lee Sosa, and I Kingsborough Community College.
And just remember, there's people in the back. So.
Is it possible they can use a mic?
Yeah.
We'll project our voices for you all to hear. Yeah, we'll do that. So we have to circle back and tell them how we got into a learning community.
Well, basically, I realized I love helping people. I realized that, well, I first put someone when I first started college, in the outside.
Can't hear you.
Guess who's on the community yet?
I realized I wanted to join learning community, so I'm going to be a mentor because I realized that I love helping that person basically helping all the stuff. That's like the main reason why I joined. Also because just love being a mentor, honestly, doing a lot of helping mentors, and you get to experience different people and different coaches, and you get to get basically talk about it, and you put it up to you along the classroom.
What I learned, what I ended up in this community was because, well, I started school straight after high school, and I was really nervous and stuff. So when I found out about the Lincoln program and everything going on, I was like, well, maybe there's something that will help me develop new friends, etc., and get in contact with the school. And I got to meet new people from varieties of cultures, so that was a plus. And I got to learn from other people and great professors that were able to link me other things. So I guess that's why I ended up in the program.
I had taken a learning community summer at Bunker Hill one of my first semesters at Bunker Hill, and I personally grew a lot from it. Like I had hit my rock bottom before I went there, and the class just helped me get on that right path. And one of the success coaches, my success coach in that course, I had she was my professor for another course afterwards, like a psych course, and I got to interact with her more, and she kind of saw me grow, so she kind of recommended me. But at the same time, I did want to get more involved, and once I learned more about the program, I just knew that it was the right fit for me because, in general, I just love inspiring and changing people's lives. So it just felt like a really good fit because it's different. I spoke to some of the professors yesterday that it's a lot different for a student to speak to a professor than for a student to speak to me who's like gone through the same thing as them. So it makes a difference.
I guess my story is a bit different because I'm an international student, so I came into the country relatively late, missed registration and everything, and I was tossed into these couple of classes, and it was just like, an LCS happened to be one because it was one of the last classes left open. I had a difficult time with my first couple of weeks in school, being in a new environment and stuff like that. I had just left my family, I had just lost a brother, so it was a really stressful situation for myself. And my professor and my mentor then really helped in getting me acquainted with school, getting me to feel comfortable and at home, and to be relaxed and stuff like that. And then I had a couple of conversations with my current mentor on what her role was, and why was she in the classroom and stuff like that. and I'm naturally a person that I like to be the devil's advocate. Like I feel like it's important for people to think critically and not just think. So I found that that was an avenue for me to be able to get other students to open up and to think about things in other ways, and to get myself to also open up and think about different things and cultures and things that we really don't think about growing up in the islands. So from that experience, it went from one extremity to another, and being able to be here and help out, and you learn a whole lot. Like, it was more a learning experience for me than I feel of me doing good for somebody else. Like, I learned so much from that.
For me, it was a little bit different also because after graduating from high school, I didn't attend college right away. Long story short, I started working for a company. I worked for that company for 21 years doing computerized embroidery. So I grew with the company to supervisor and so forth and so forth. So long story short, the crisis hit and they let me go. I said, what am I going to do with my time? So you know what, I'm going to go back to college. So on my first entrance, I met with George Hill, my academic advisor, and he introduced the Learning Community Program to me and pretty much explained what it's all about. Telling me that it's 3 classes that is linked together, and it's also a part of okay. And that is also, it links with my major. So because it linked with my major, I said, great, so I have 3 classes, English 12, sociology, and student development. And my experience with what I've learned outside, I felt that I could bring it to the classroom environment and share it with others, because I'm very passionate in what I do, and I love to help, and I love to encourage, and I love to empower people and help them to see the bigger picture. And when I saw the passion and the drive that came from Mr. Hill, I said, oh my God, is this for real? Because I heard in college, you're just a number, you know, no one really knows you. But when I saw I was able to make that connection with my professor, and as a student, I stuck with him. This is my first semester, and I stuck with him all the way through.
Can you actually get the second microphone to the other end of us here? Because I know once we start asking questions, so there we go. I'm sorry. All right, so my story was, I started in the spring of 2011. And I was similar to your story with just the economic downturn, and I had lost my job, and I said, I gotta do something. So I went back to college, and I finally felt like I was really following what I wanted to and not just working week to week. So I felt really great about that, but I also felt like, all right, I'm older now, I'm going back to college now that I'm older, and I just want to go through this and be left alone. And they put me, oh yeah, I was a case study. So they put me into my learning community seminar, and the whole time I'm grumbling about it because I didn't want to do it, because I didn't understand the purpose of it, and I just wanted to work towards my goal, and that was it. And I finally, my peer mentor in my class, I'll never forget her, she really just, she talked to me, and she gave me space, but then she talked to me, she gave me space, and she was so intuitive with me, and I started to understand how awesome those learning communities were, and I started to understand, you know, the school is diverse, and we can all learn a lot from each other, and I had picked the right place to go, and I had picked the right group of people to surround myself with, and I could learn a lot more from them than I probably even could my own curriculum. And then, you know, it was funny because at the beginning of the semester I wanted to be left alone. By the end of the semester I wanted to help everybody. So that's what brings me here.
Well, for me, I joined the learning community because after my first experience with it, it gave me something to hold on to, because my home environment didn't offer that support. And I think that was just because of their level of education. But it really gave me something to hold on to. It gave me, once I went through those doors at Bunker Hill, I felt at home. And when I went outside, I went back to feeling like a stranger, displaced, whatever. But giving me that stability was something that I wanted to pass down to somebody else too. I may not have skills that I may be able to give to somebody else, but I can still be a stable rod in their life. It's something to hold on to, and that's what I wanted to pass on.
Oh, well, for me, I kind of started. Well, kind of went there because it kind of seemed simple. My classes are really kind of have a new project. So I said, I know those a couple years out of school. But it would be easy getting back into school and getting to know people since everybody is in the same classes and courses. So probably a lot of friends.
What were some of the most positive experiences that you've had in your learning communities? Yeah, we'll start with you.
All right. Some of the most positive experience I have, I guess, is my teachers. They actually give off the vibe that they care about learning or not, instead of just giving me a project and saying do this by a certain date. Students, you know, since you're all linked together, if you're close to them, they like to tell you, hey, you're falling back in this, or hey, you're back in that. That really helped me with my writing and public speaking. You know, I was kind of shy, didn't really talk much, I was quiet in the class. So I think that was the best. Kind of helped me a lot personal life.
For me, in the learning community, this is my first semester doing it as a mentor, but as a student in the learning community. As I mentioned earlier, when I went outside those walls of Bunker Hill, I felt like a nobody. I felt worthless because even though I was getting mainly A's in my classes, my father didn't care, my brothers didn't care, my sisters didn't care. So even though I was doing really good, I would always go back home and I would sulk on people that brought me into this world. They weren't really caring about what I was doing. And I remember one day, it was at the end of the semester, so I could deal with the pain and depression for so long, but I started to snap at the end of my fall semester last year. And I had a big project due, so I was doing very good up until that big project. And then I remember I was just sitting down, and I had my own apartment too. That's what made it even worse. People didn't care about me, and I was alone in my own apartment. So I'm just sitting down, and I had my head in my hands. I'm like, what am I doing? You know what I mean? I don't care about the good grades. I just want somebody to care about what I'm doing and notice me. And I missed the deadline for the final to hand it in online. And then my teacher called me while I had my head in my hands. She said, Marvin, what's wrong? I spoke to her for a little bit, and then I picked myself back up off of just that one conversation because she cared. And that was a real positive point.
Marvin actually raised a really interesting point, and I just want to say real quick, I hope everybody, and I think as we go through our lives, we don't forget to do this for each other, but as colleagues, give each other affirmation. I know we try to remember to do that. I try to do that for my bosses. I try to do that for my teacher. Just remember to do that. Just because what Marvin said, it really gets to that point where like, what am I doing? And sometimes I've been to points where, you know, that one person says, you're doing the right thing. That's all I needed to hear because I'm ready to just be at my wit's end. But anyways, I have to go off on tangents. Another spin, I'd actually like to put a spin on your question in that I think I'm actually, and this might be hopeful thinking, but I think I'm actually living one of my most positive experiences since being a mentor. I have a student right now that she was avoiding us for the longest time. And you know, the teacher, me, the success coach, and you know, kind of almost chasing her down, but I don't want to force her into things. So I finally got to her to the point where she said, all right, let's meet for an hour. So I sat with her for an hour and I helped her with a couple of things that she had for homework. And it finally occurred to myself and the teacher and the success coach, well, maybe she's just using avoidance because she's scared of what's happening. So I'm gradually seeing the student turn from, you know, giving myself and the teacher dirty looks all the way through class, just like, I know what I'm doing, you guys don't need to tell me, to actually asking us for help. So I think I'm actually in the middle of my most positive experience. I'm very excited to see where it turns out.
For me, my most positive experience was the connection as I said earlier, because stories that I've heard about, being in college, that you're a number and these professors, they don't care, and they don't care if you take class or not, if you take notes or not. But when I saw the concern and the outreach, I didn't feel left out. I didn't feel disconnected. And I realized that with my experience for 21 years, I thought I knew it all. But when I came on college campus, it was a total different environment for me. And I had to go through that transition. But that transition was more fun and interesting. And I was able to tap into information and resources that I never had before. And the staff and the professors, just the care and the motivation that they showed, and they encouraged me, and I didn't feel left out. I felt loved. I felt that someone really cared. I said, oh, so these stories are not really true. So sometimes when you do hear stories about professors, it's not true. They do show their support and their care and their concern. And it propelled me to where I became an A student. I just got involved. I wanted to give what I've learned to help others. When I say others were struggling in the class and in that environment, I was able to encourage them and to assist and to help them to just reach out. So that was my positive effect. And I'm still going on that, that win.
My most positive outcomes from learning communities as a student and as a learning community mentor would be improvement, understanding, and community building. And the aspect of, I was ignorant to a lot of things when I moved to this country, and I had a lot of horrible biases in my mind, a lot of horrible stereotypes about people and things like that, because I didn't know any better. That's how I was raised. And in my learning community, we were able to break those walls, and we were able to break those stereotypes, and we were able to actually open up a forum of controlled discussion so that people are educated on the right things, and they're actually brought into an uncomforting zone to become comfortable with opening their minds to other things and to actually trying to find out the truth and doing research and things like that. And the idea of improvement there's a lot of students that over the past 4 semesters that I've been a mentor, and one thing that we do in the class that I mentor, we always start with finding out how the person's doing with their other classes. Every single session, how's your class going? How many hours do you spend studying and things like that? And we always make a push to improve the amount of time that students study and things like that. And from simple discussions in class, trying to tie the work that you're doing in other classes with the work that you're doing in this learning community. And we have seen students literally progress. Like this semester alone, there was one guy that constantly kept complaining about his professor. And I was like, well, maybe it might be your professor, but maybe it might be something else. So I took him down to the success coach, and he had a conversation with the success coach, and she gave him some advice and things like that. And he came back and he said to us, just 3 days ago, he was like, I got a B+ on my paper from getting D's all the time. And the professor looked at him and he said, so what was really wrong? He was like, me? I guess. It was no longer the strike at the professor. He realized that he just needed to open himself to a different style of education and a different style of learning and stuff like that. So we get those things every single semester, and it's empowering to actually think that you are a part of that growth and that development within somebody else. It's, for me, like, it strikes my heart, and it's something I would always remember for life.
A positive experience as a mentor and more of a rewarding experience is when I actually see them transform, and I actually see them grow, and I actually, when I have conversations with them, I still keep in contact with students that I've mentored from like 2 or 3 semesters. They still text me, they still shoot me emails, and like they'll ask for my help. I just spoke to one this morning who called me last night, and it's not even so much about academic support. Like Marvin said, like they go through stuff at home, or they don't have that support. So like we are there for them, and that's just, it's real important because no one was there. Or like we had support through what could help. So
Well, I guess the best and the most positive thing that happened to me was being able to be called smart from my professors and being able to have feedback and having friends that come up to you and say, I know, look at you, you're so attentive in class, you know the stuff, you know. Being able to go in from high school, getting a 65, and like having professors, well, you're not going nowhere, you know, with these grades. And then going to college and having a program where you know every student, the students are coming up to you saying, oh, you know, you're smart, you're great at this, or having them tell you, well, if you're not good at this, I'm here to help you. And the professor shooting you emails saying, you know, keep up the good work, you know. You don't see that anymore. And having to know that in this program, like how professors, they're passionate, it was the best and most positive experience I ever got. And I guess that really was the only great positive that I, you know, my good friends on that.
As a student, I think positive experience. As a student, my most positive experience because I think most of the people have actually needed to, like, since an early age, when it's hard, that's a necessity. That's what you're doing. That's what we all school. And when I first attended the seminar, actually, I feel like I was not home with more than I actually got to stress myself to be sensitive, to be on school, and to cry. I was going through a really difficult time when I first got like the summer. And some of my family, I had a few family members who were died with cancer, who were in the hospital, getting treatment. And I was just like, I arrived at a comfortable spot. I arrived at it was like nobody was trying to change the medicine. They were just understanding. And I could apply, I could be exposed, I could express my emotions, and everybody was just supporting me and understanding me. And I think that was the most positive experience that I had experienced in my life.
So now we're going to think about and talk about change that is applicable. Were there any aspects of your learning community, or are there any aspects of your learning community that you might want to see change? Do you have any ideas for change? And I suppose it's all right to say change doesn't seem to be in order.
I mean, I'm not necessarily yet, but from what I see so far, it's working.
I don't think the microphone.
Mic's on. Tap on it.
It is. You can hear it. It's on. You just have to get it close to your mouth. Like, you got to do the right.
Hello?
Yeah.
Perfect, very good.
You're the DJ. You're the DJ. Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Honestly, I don't think it's so far from like, in classes, teachers, students. I don't think there are any changes that need to occur teacher-wise. It would be more for students.
I have a kid in my class where he doesn't care about any of the classes that are in the student search. He only cares about his government history. And because of that, he doesn't pay attention in English or psychology. He still doesn't do joint assignment. And I tried to reach out to him when he was going to fail, and he said that it's okay. I can have next semester going after that. And it would be more personal things. But that's what asking somebody, a teacher, to go too far to go to the student and say, hey, do this. That's the only thing I would say. On that same note, classrooms, I don't know what I have to do. I give them my personality, and I think that's welcoming enough, but I don't know what else I could do to help the students get more involved, because I still have to take care of myself. And that's just a question I've been wondering about. That's the only thing I'd like to see change, more participation from the students.
I think the biggest thing that I'd like to see change is really just a clearer definition of learning community, not for us, because we all know what we're doing. But I think, I don't know what the other colleges have for orientation programs, but just to be able to more clearly explain in the orientation program, this is what you can expect to get out of a learning community, or not get, or you're gonna have to come up with your own definition of what to get, but just so that they have something before they go into it to, and I don't want to use the word expectation, because that's definitely not the word I'm going for, but I want them to have more of a rough idea of just how significant the learning communities can be to their college careers and their success. Because I don't think that enough gravity is put on them.
The change that I would love to see from my experience is, as she said, let learning community be a part of orientation when students are coming in fresh into college, because it was introduced to me by my academic advisor. But if my academic advisor is already in his office, seated, but if it can be introduced at the door or at the gate, that student can be informed and have an idea of what they're coming into, because it's so awesome. So, and it's so fulfilling, and you get so much out of it, because it's a small group, it's a small environment, and you learn from each other. So if it can be introduced at the door instead of coming into an office setting, it would be much better, so students can get more involved. That's the change.
My point, honestly, would be preaching to the choir right now. And in the aspect of, there's a lot of growth happening at Bunker Hill in terms of learning communities, and the amount of work being put into it is absolutely amazing. But for me, I feel like the change that needs to happen is that we need to yank the higher ups out of their seats. And we need to basically get them outside of their offices and outside of their comfort zone and get them inside of some of these classrooms so that they really see what is happening, and they really get an insight of what is really happening, what a learning community is. Because I've heard many professors that don't have relationships with learning communities be like, oh, that. Like it's this nonchalant thing, but they don't realize that half the students that they're seeing are the impressive students that they are, thanks to those very same learning communities. So to get a bigger connection from the people that, that have the power to promote and have the power to make these things grow is the biggest change that could help anything. And basically a positive note of not to stop. Don't stop doing what you're doing, because what you're doing is helping us as students, and I'm sure you can see it with all of us here. We are enjoying it, and there are many other students from wherever we are from, and students that aren't here that is getting a great chunk of love and experience and intellect and all these things from the communities.
If I speak to our program at Bunker Hill, I think that they do a really good job of training us, of supporting us, and of we have all of our bases covered, and we're prepared to go into those classrooms. There's always room for growth, and they're constantly growing. So I feel like we need, like Kimar said, we need support from the school. We need the learning communities to connect with other organizations in the school, whether it's the clubs or student activities or just anything. because we need to work together because there's so many different organizations on campus that are kind of have the same goal to help these incoming students, but we're not like seeing eye to eye and working together. Rather, it's like politics, and I think that maybe like a collective discussion to be like sat down with the higher ups, professors who don't understand what we're doing, and students who both are in the seminars as students and mentors should all come together and have a discussion. So like everyone can be on the same page and we can work together.
Change. I guess that's what she was saying. Getting professors, mentors, and everybody at the same level, and being able to have those professors that know our background, we're not all as students. We have, issues, as ourselves. Being able to know that telling us we're doing a good job, even if we're already adults, it's gonna help us. It's gonna give us a smile on the day, The whole day we might be having a miserable day. You telling us we have it, like you're doing great, doing a good job. It's rewarding. That's what the change. We have to have professors that are passionate what they're doing, where we could feel passion. And we could feel like, yes, I'm at home because I'm learning something. Like, school is a second home school since I started this community. So that's the change. That's probably one of the biggest ones. Having professors and mentors to say, yeah, we're proud of what you're doing. That's what we need.
Basically, coming back to Bristol, basically I have a couple of schools, basketball, like AC, and some shit about that. Basically, they ask me, who are you? What is your role? Basically, I think we need to expose more of that. And actually, that's support for the school as well.
How do the linked classes that you've taken within the link compare to classes that you've taken that were not part of the link? Are they better? Are they worse? Are they just different?
Basically, I think like when I first started to me, you do want to critical thinking, just think big idea, and basically for everything like your own personal choice on paper, and basically have your say about it, and basically in all different aspects of it, listen to lectures, and all you write notes. The community actually gets to speak to breaking things, school, you actually do more to improve everything, which you enjoy it as a teacher.
I guess the best part about the LINK program is being able to have these classes that you could relate to. If you don't understand something in one class, you'll be able to understand it, and maybe the other professors teaching it in a way that you know how to understand it. So that's the biggest part I actually love about it, that you're able to relate, and you can relate with, it could be a philosophy class, or psychology class, or an English class, but you'll think even more about, wow, I was just learning about this, but looking at it this perspective is so much way better, and it makes you think and write in a higher level, and that's the best part about the LINK program, critical thinking.
So the LINK program that you guys are talking about, you're talking about like English, another kind of thing.
Right.
So I mentor for a cluster course, which is the same thing. It's a psychology course and then the GPS, the Guide to Purpose and Success. So it's the same professor, it's not two different professors. And so she teaches psychology the first half and then I go on the second half. So I feel like it just helps give a different perspective for students who maybe don't really think psychology is that interesting, but if the GPS course puts it in a way where they can take the psychology course and relate to it in real life situations like your awareness and like conditioning and behaviors and stuff like that. And it's also a lot of goal setting and stuff like that. So understanding their own psyche with like not just like the papers left to right for psych, but like reflections and activities and like icebreakers and things like that that help them try to challenge themselves and use what they're learning in their psych class to find their guide and purpose to success. So I feel like it's really successful if they really try and like, put effort into it. They get a lot out of it.
The difference based off of Bunker Hill, it really depends on the learning community that you're in, because all of our learning communities are themed, and you get things that connect to your inner orange line, red, black, blue, and Islam, and things like that, where the theme basically tells you where the community is going to go. But for instance, the community that I mentor is called America Speaks. And in all reality, being at a community college, most of the students that come in, we take the placement test. And most of us end up placing into developmental math and English and those basic writing and reading courses. And what happens in America Speaks is that it's a project-based class. And you find something that's wrong with the world and you make an attempt to fix it. And this is not imaginary attempts. You literally have to write letters to people that matter. And you need to see change in specific things. We have cleaned up Boston, parks in Boston. We have promoted and gotten great results with the DREAM Act and things like that. And what it does is that most of these students are taking classes like writing 095 and reading 095 and stuff like that. And it puts you in a situation where you have to apply the things that you are learning in these other classes into your project, because you have to write a letter and you can't just decide that you're going to write it any crappy way and the professor's going to take it, look at it and say, oh great, send this. You know, we still have to be very, very professional about how we do things. So it makes you apply the things that you're doing inside the classroom, that when you're in that classroom you feel like, well, this is useless. Like, what am I going to do with this in the real world? We put you into the real world and tell you, well, hey, how do you get this done? How are you going to create a letter? How are you going to get the attention of Barack Obama? You need to write him a letter, and it needs to be something interesting and motivating, and it needs to have the correct structure. And this structure you're learning in your writing classes and stuff like that. So the difference is basically where the themes are related and how the class is structured. But in all reality, a learning community could bend on being one of the more core things that you need as a student and as someone being educated, and even as an educator as you go throughout your life.
For me, the difference between the two is flexibility and connection, because how the three classes are connected, how they, I realized that while I was taking English 12 and Soci and student development, the topics were similar. So whatever I missed in this class, I can get it in Soci, or I can get it in student development, or if I get an assignment or a reading assignment for English 12, and I'm unable to kind of fulfill answering the question, I can get it over here in Soci. So the link that each topic had, and when they gave us an assignment, it was not you do an assignment, for example, on Barack Obama, or you do an assignment on the animal kingdom. No, the assignment was one. So we were able to work together, and I saw how the professors work together. So, okay, I'm giving you guys an assignment, but it's going to be each professor, you have to report to each professor to let them know where you're at, or if you're struggling in a particular area, so you don't just have to come to me, you can go to your associate professor, you go to your STD professor. Between the other regular classes is that the professor would say, okay, meet me in my office hour. And when you do meet them in their office hour, they give you at least 5 or 10 minutes of their time, and they say, oh, I have an next class that I have to go to, so can you meet with me next week, or if you have a break. So I didn't feel the support or the connection between with just having my regular classes than with my link classes. I felt more support with my link classes, because I could either go to Professor George Hill, or I could go to my other professor, or I could go to my other class.
I can't speak to linked courses. I unfortunately never had the opportunity to take advantage of that, just because of my program of study and what have you. But I do know the importance of linking different things. I definitely make a habit to, you know, almost, I'll even tell my professors, you know, this is going on in my other class, and I'm trying to kind of make it so they'll flow together, and I do every semester. I try to make sure my classes are going to flow together and make make sure, you know, if I have to do service learning 15 hours for one class and service learning 10 hours for the next, I'll kill two birds with one stone. What I find in doing all these things is you end up making a core group of students around you that end up doing the same thing, and so it's almost like creating your own personalized linked class system. So I definitely see the importance of it, and I definitely think it's a great thing. We're trying to expand on it at Bunker Hill. We're always trying to cluster more classes together so more people can take advantage of it. And totally forgot where I was going with this, so now I'm just going to stop.
Well, the difference that I've seen between cluster, we call them cluster classes at Bunker Hill. The difference I've seen between cluster classes and regular classes is that in regular classes, we don't even look behind us at the person. If we're in the front row, we won't look behind us, and if we're ambitious enough, we'll look next to us. But that's why I see it's just that isolation in regular classes. But in clustered classes, you do get that whole sense of community because you're with these people that you have to be with the duration of about 3 hours, almost an hour and a half for each class, or about two and a half hours. And I remember we have things like spring day at Bunker Hill, in the spring semester. And I was in a math in the mind cluster class last year with psychology and math. And kids the teacher got mad. The psychology teacher got mad. She got math first. But during the little break that we had, as a group, in the little clusters, we all went out to that spring day, and we got sidetracked. We all came back to class late that day. She was really upset, but that just goes to show how much of a bond that we make just by being in those clusters together. And even walking through a hallway, a lot of people walk with their heads down or their eyes straight ahead, just trying to get from point A to point B. But when you're in those clusters and you're with these people all the time, you're forced to recognize them in the hall and actually look around and acknowledge people and make the building alive with your spirit.
For me, I guess the biggest difference between two classes, between length and how many classes is the fact that you actually use the information in your overall life. Because for me, psychology, English, I actually use psychology when I'm in my essays. And actually, like when I'm reading a book, I actually notice like, oh, this person has a mental problem or something like that. Like things that I wouldn't notice before, like I wasn't taking unlinked psychology in English class and I read a psychology book, I wouldn't actually point out those things because I'm not going to link psychology in English. But yeah, that's the biggest difference. In fact, I actually use all the information I get inside the community.
So our next question is going to jump off of the part that you mentioned that your instructors and staff work as one. So that's one observation on how faculty and staff partner together in the learning communities. So if there are any other observations or descriptions you can give us of how your faculty and staff work together as teams, the extent to which they do that, level of passion or whatever they deliver to the learning community and its students.
I guess it would be the fact that they work together. Like the way that they work together, they're cheerful, like they in my online course classes on Tuesdays we have like an hour session where we meet up and the teachers would come and help us with their work and everything. Like within that hour, like they'll talk to you, they'll help with your essays that you need to help with and all that. And I find that really helpful. The fact that they actually come together outside of class and they'll talk to you about what they're doing and all that.
From what I've seen with this, so the advising team and the faculty is that they don't try to be best friends. They don't try to make this friendship where we're going to be the best buddies and we're going to support these kids like they're our babies. They don't try to do that. But what they do is they play their part, and they play their part very well. If they're robots and the legs are the student and the arms are the advisors and the heart is the teacher is pumping a lot of blood and oxygen into that body. The arms are picking up everything that needed to be picked up with that baby grip. You know, baby grip, they don't let go. And the legs just start moving. You know what I mean? So they play their part, even if they don't act, even if they don't develop a relationship themselves. They play their part, and they understand that when we're in this room together, it's not about my department, your department, it's about the student.
In my experience, it's always been a relationship of trust and camaraderie. I know with myself and my teacher, my success coach, we're always, you know, something goes wrong and we're each other's support system. We have to be. I mean, we're supporting these students every day, and, you know, who's there to support us? Well, we have each other, and that's kind of how we do it, you know, to the point where sometimes we have to vent, and sometimes we have to laugh, and it's always been fantastic in that regard. And then it starts to carry over in awesome ways to other things in the college. Like, I know me and the teacher I'm working with this semester, we're in the classroom, and the students were on break for 15 minutes, and we're over there brainstorming things we can be active about around the school. And the class coach walks in and goes, "Who put you guys together creating trouble?" And it's awesome that we can have that kind of silliness and that kind of fun, but also be so determined to get things done and care that much about the school together. And it really builds you up. My class is on Friday, and, you know, my week can be absolutely terrible, and that Friday will totally turn it around, and the next week I'll be rejuvenated to try it all over again.
For me, what I saw in Kingsborough, it's the, how should I put it? They were professors of their word. What they verbalized to us that I'm going to see Professor so-and-so to make sure that we're on the same page, or to make sure that you guys, or, you know, doing your assignment or asking questions. It's the teamwork that I saw in Kingsborough. And it's not like one professor was slacking. None of them were slacking in what they were doing. And whatever they say they're going to do, they're going to do. They work as far as, let's say there's an exam or a final that we have to do, and we have to study. And if both exams is going to clash together, professor will say, okay, I have to see so-and-so professor to change my schedule, so you don't have to be overwhelmed in your studies, and the two exams link together. And what we do as students to make sure that they kept their word, we ask each professor when we go to the other class, so did Professor Kwame said that she's going to change the schedule? Oh yeah, she spoke to me, and actually she was a little bit demanding too, because she wanted me to change my time schedule to work around. So yes, they had that teamwork, they had that support, and whatever they stood by for, whatever they said, and they had their commitment.
I think the level of connection comes with the idea of care, and the fact that they all care, and they all care for the same thing, and they all care for the success of that student as a whole, and not just that student as an academic, but that student as a whole. And we've seen it in my classes and around the school in general. You know, one student comes into the classroom and he has an issue, and he brings it to the professor, and the professor might not know exactly what to say or what to do, but the professor knows another professor or another faculty member that has all the answers, that has the resources, and the fact that he takes a minute or so out of his own time to reach out to another professor or another faculty member, and that faculty member takes time out of their day to see that this student is actually successful. It's like this, it's like a train on a track. Those Christmas trains that we get that go around and around and around in circles. And it's like the professors are at specific parts, and the faculty members are at specific parts, even us as peer mentors. And the students are passing around on that train, and we're kind of like holding hands, and we're linked to each other to make sure that nobody falls off. And if they do fall out, we give them that jolt back in, And if we give them a push here and we miss, there's a professor or an advisor or a support service member further down the track to actually give them a push again, and maybe they get back on. So those connections we see every single day in Bunker Hill with all our support services, all our professors. I eavesdrop on professors having conversations sometimes. And when they're like in front of me, you know, you can hear a professor talking about, yeah, you know, and she's a really, really nice girl, and she's doing that such and such in my class. And what do you think we can do to help her? She's not in a class with one of these professors, but this other professor actually cares. And that's the main core and the real center of the situation, that they all care, and they all care for the success of that student.
From my experience, working with faculty, if you have issues, I feel like they're very responsive. It's not like they don't forget about us, like they're quick to come when we need them. I also believe that we also work with a lot of advisors, maybe like over the summer and things like that. They use us for registration and things like that. So what I really like is that we have built a relationship with these advisors. It's not like they're superior and we think that they're better than us or anything like that. They work with us and they listen to what we have to say, and that it kind of it helps me like value myself and like my ideas and my opinions, because from like they take my experience and what I have to say seriously. Also, I feel like if you're a student, like they reach out, the success coaches reach out to a lot of the students, but there are those students who don't respond, don't show up to class, and that's it. You just never hear from them again, never see them again. They stop showing up to classes. But the students who do get up and go there, like they're there for you. Again, they're responsive. They're not, it doesn't take like 2-3 weeks to hear back from them. They're on top of their game, which does show that they do care and that they are here and they do want us to see us succeed. That being said, some students or some faculty doesn't not like to have a personal relationship with the student. My advisor that I've had for 3 years, she's like my mentor now. Like she's my go-to. I text her, I email her with like whatever I want about anything. Like she has been my rock. So I feel like a lot of students need to understand that faculty is there to help them. If they're not just like you're not doing your homework, like that. So it's good. So sometimes they may not connect with a certain faculty member, and that's why we can send them, or that's why we're the liaison, the segue, to help them understand where the professors and faculty are coming from, and to kind of guide them and send them like wherever they need to go, kind of get some direction.
I guess like he was saying, commitment and care. Like when I was in class, I was able to, we had to write a paper, right? But this paper was linked to 4 classes. So the simple fact, we got feedback from each professor, and like if we had exams, like she said, we made sure they weren't the same day. And if they were, it would be like, okay, so my English professor will be reading a book on about psychology, but it'll be one of the books we have to write about as well. So it'll be like, okay, you look at her, maybe she has a mental illness. What is it? What's that? Like he'll quiz us, with the book, So they're able to like relate with each other, and you'll be like, oh, okay. So then when you go take the test, like you've been studying since the morning because your other professor has been telling you, okay, we're reading this book and giving you tips on how to pass the test. So I think that's a great, great thing. They're working together, like they're compassionate, that they care about you, and they tell you, okay, so we're having this test, let's be on study. But your other professors tell you, okay, make sure you're studying, they just give you a lot of feedback about each other. They help each other out, and they have a bond with us, they have a bond with each other, and that's gonna make us want to go to class, make us, be successful. So I guess that's a big part.
I feel like there's going to be ability to be understanding. I feel like most of the professors now we have real life scenarios we're from different subject classes. But sometimes you're not able to link into class to understand the material. I teach you, I speak from my own personal experience. I teach you to stay after class, after your office hours, for hours, just working with each other and continue to make sure that I actually understand adding something completely. And also like just some courses for like just to understand how the argument, how we do make mistakes, but like the always gonna be the support and security that has been like that has to be like, oh, I'm gonna get you back up. If you guys need anything, if you need help, I'll be there for you. It's just a lot of things.
Okay, so this next question is not necessarily applicable to everybody, because it's focusing on developmental or remedial courses. So for the students that were involved in developmental and remedial courses in the learning community, did the learning community help, how prepared did you feel when you were going into the learning community, and how prepared did you feel for college work after you completed the or
Alright, well, I took psychology and English 91 when I started. Once I started there, I was lost. I'm like, oh my god, I'm in college. I really didn't think I was going to go straight to high school, straight to college. My family decided I was going to go. So then I decided, okay, you know what, I'm going to do this. Okay, it's not going to hurt me, Once I got there, I started with the main course, right? And to figure out, I didn't have to take the remedial class, but I ended up taking it. I found out I didn't have to take it like 3 weeks or 4 weeks after I ended up in the class. But I ended up finding out that I needed it for myself. I wasn't able, I didn't have perfect grammar, my spelling was terrible. I was honestly, my school did not give me the best resources. The high school gave me the best resources. So I needed it for myself. So I stood in the class because I started falling in love with teachers and everything. So once I started doing paper after paper, revision after revision, it got me to be a stronger reader. The dictionary and the thesaurus became my best friends. I started constantly reading them and getting these words that I didn't know I could use to expand my vocabulary. So having feedback from my professors and telling me, okay, this is what you're doing wrong. You're doing like one sentences. You have no grammar, you have no talk, you have nothing. So my writing got better. Once I left that, I actually wrote a paper on my history class. I got an 83. I never expected my grammar and my spelling to get so much better, but the linguist has helped me. Having remedial and something else, like having psychology, having those psychology words that you use, mental illnesses and everything, those vocabularies help me, to expand my vocabulary, to know that there's bigger words you can use. And your grammar will get better. You just, you have to keep on doing what you have to do. So after I left, I was a stronger writer. I'm a really stronger writer.
I had to take one remedial math class, but I had to take one remedial math class, and what I got out of taking that class was when I went to Bunker High School. I graduated high school in 2008, and I entered Bunkerville in the fall of 2012. Fall of 2011. And this is the fall of 2012. So I entered Bunkerville last fall, and that math class I was real open about it. I said, I need to brush up on my math skills. I accepted that, and I took it, and I maximized my experience, and it really did help me in my math classes now.
I guess for me, I never really had confidence when it came to reading aloud or investigating all the class, but when it came to remedial English, the way it was taught to me, it really made me gain confidence to read out loud in class, and my discipline and all that. So I guess going in, I had nothing related to confidence. Now I'm building on it. I have more confidence.
This is probably a different situation, but I never had to myself personally do a remedial class in college, but the professor that I work with one of the balance in that, we have a lot of students in our classes that are in remedial math. He's a math teacher. So my LCS professor is a math teacher. We spend a a fair amount of time outside of class, actually helping those students. Like, they're normally in the same level of math, so they're going to be doing the same quiz and exams and stuff like that. So what he would do is that he would prepare a specific set of homework for these students to do that would be math related, and we would use things like VART and things like Do What You Are to get them to use their personal learning skills as we teach in the learning communities and apply it to the math homework that they had to do for their remedial classes. And he knew what he was doing because he was a math professor, so he was always able to help them with the stuff that they're doing in their own class.
So, tell us, how you say your topic or comments after the learning is over. Did you stand up for them?
Could you repeat the question because we can't hear you? Thank you.
I'm asking the students to describe for us the extent to which their relationship with their learning community comrades has